Hello my dear friends, you're in the military with summary channel. In this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first let's talk about the conflict on the territory of Ukraine, where during the previous night between the 17th and the 18th of July of 2026 the Ukrainians attacked deep inside of the territory of Russia. The Ukrainians were using hundreds of drones, and this morning the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation reported that 379 drones of the armed forces Ukraine were intercepted over the territory of Russia. And it seems that as for the overnight attack, the Ukrainians were trying to hit and to destroy logistic hubs of the Russian Federation. So the Russian air defense activities were recorded through the area of the city of Tambov and through the area of the city of Moscow. So let's discuss everything in details. As for the city of Tambov, the Ukrainians were using hundreds of drones to attack a logistic hub in the city, and this is the video with the consequences of a attack. As you can see, a fire broke out right after the Ukrainians attacked this territory. But as for this logistic hub, it seems that the Russians managed to repel this attack, because during the night we received lots of videos as the Russians were trying to bring down Ukraine's drone moving in the direction of this logistic hub. The Russians air defense forces managed to intercept most of the drones that were trying to attack the logistic hub of the city of Tambov. The second wave of Ukrainian drones were moving in the direction of the capital of the Russian Federation, more precisely to the east of the capital, towards the city by the name of Elektrostal and to the city by the name of Noginsk. And as for these territories, at least two objects the Ukrainians were trying to attack. As for the settlement of Noginsk, the Ukrainians were trying to hit and to destroy this oil base, and as a result of attack, the oil base was damaged during the day, during the night, and this morning we received lots of videos on this matter, and here we can see the consequences of the overnight attack. A fire broke out immediately after the Ukrainians attacked this oil base, and most likely the oil base was badly damaged. Another important territory is the city of Elektrostal, and as for this city, the Ukrainians were attacking this logistic hub, one of the biggest logistic hubs on the territory of the Russian Federation. The Ukrainians were using hundreds of drones to attack this territory, and as a result of attack, as you can see, this logistic hub was destroyed without any chances to repair it or to extinguish the fire. So we have lots of videos this morning where we can see the consequences of attack. As you can see, a very big black smoke over this logistic hub, over constructions, which means that the Ukrainians, as a result of attack, managed to reduce these logistic hub to ruins. So as you can see, during the previous night, the Ukrainians were mainly trying to attack logistic hubs in the area of Moscow and Tambov, and as a result of this attack, one of the logistic hubs was damaged. We're talking about the city of Tambov. As for the city of Moscow, as for the Moscow region and the city of Elektrostal, we see that the logistic hub was destroyed without any chances. So which means that the situation is continue escalating between Russia and Ukraine. This is the first thing. And the second important thing is that we see that the Ukrainians shift their focus from oil refineries to logistic hubs. So now let's discuss in details. This is the pictures that we can see. I believe that every single one of you have already seen these pictures this morning, but we need to understand what is happening right now. So we need to understand that these are not just attacks that were carried out by the Ukrainians. This is something like an attempt from the Ukrainian side to rescue the commander-in-chief of the armed forces Ukraine, Syrskyi. So what is the situation? As you may know, there was a conflict between Syrskyi and its already former Minister of Defense Fedorov. There was a conflict, and Zelensky chose the side of Syrskyi. He didn't dismiss him, but he has dismissed the Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Fedorov. And right after this situation happened, population of Ukraine and civilians of Ukraine began striking across the entire territory of Ukraine against Syrskyi, demanding demanding his dismissal. So currently, the thing that we can see right now in the territory of Russia is an attempt from the Ukraine's authorities, first of all, to rescue and to save Syrskyi, and probably he's also taking part in these operations. This is the first thing. And the second thing, the second thing what the Ukrainian authorities are trying to achieve by attacking deep inside of the territory of Russia is to shift the focus of civilians, of people of Ukraine, from the inner problems back again to the Russian Federation. Because during the previous evening, between the 17th and the 18th of July, basically between the 16th and the 18th of July of 2026, many protests were recorded through the territory of Ukraine. We received lots of videos on this matter, and here we can see probably already thousands of people across Ukraine on the streets demanding the dismissal of the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, Syrskyi, and most likely, according to the situation, that the president of Ukraine still hasn't managed to dismiss him. We see that either they're together, Syrskyi and Zelensky, or Syrskyi has a very strong position and probably has something on the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, so that is why he is not able to dismiss him. So that is why the Ukraine's authorities came to the conclusion that it's time to begin a rescue operation, and so that is why they attacked deep inside the territory of Russia to create a very big media picture. And of course, right now, today, this morning, every single Ukrainian, and probably even those who were located and who were taking part in these protests, of course, watching these videos from the Russian Federation, of course, they has nothing to tell, they has nothing to say about Syrskyi and about Ukraine's military authorities. So probably this is not the only reason, of course. This is one of the reasons what is happening and why the Ukrainians attacked these two logistic hubs during the previous night, because they knew that these are logistic hub with lots of products, with lots of probably things that can fire very easy. So that is why if these objects are being attacked, then most likely they expected that they would see something like this: big fire, big media picture, and everybody will shift attention from the inner problems of Ukraine once again to the Russian Federation. Because as for the previous 24-48 hours, the protests took place not just on the territory of the city of Kiev. The sources reported that Ukrainians began protests on the territory of the city of Ternopil, and we have this picture according to the author of this video. This is either the city of Ternopil or the settlement of Khmelnytsky. Here we have another video. We can see another protest on the territory of Ukraine. As for this protest, we don't see many people, but this is just the beginning. Obviously, if the protest activity continues, then most likely during the between the 18th and the 19th of July, we would see more people across Ukraine protesting against Syrskyi and a recruit system and many other different things. The city of Kharkiv, we have lots of protests, lots of people on the streets against the commander-in-chief, against the current commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, Syrskyi. The situation is quite critical, and Zelensky didn't have any other option but to shift the focus and attention of people of Ukraine. But the problem is that this attack deep inside of the territory of Russia against this logistic house, basically this is something like an internet sale market, sale place, and Zelensky attacked these warehouses, which means that during the upcoming night, probably between the 18th and the 19th of July, the Russians may retaliate and the Russians may attack something similar through the western parts of Ukraine, because as of the central and the eastern parts of Ukraine, logistic objects like the Ukrainians attacked probably have been already destroyed. So now the Russians may move their focus further in the direction of the western parts of Ukraine, and this can lead to unpredictable consequences. Now let's talk about the Russian attack. During the previous 12 hours, the Russians once again attacked the southwestern parts of Ukraine. We're talking about the Odesa and Mykolaiv region. And once again, the Russians were attacking infrastructure, port infrastructure, and the Russians were attacking vessels. In this video, we can see at least two or three episodes of how the Russians were attacking ships and vessels through the port infrastructure of the Odesa region. Furthermore, the Russians were, as a result of attack, the Russians managed managed to deal significant damage. Russian strikes on Odessa ports and ships are significantly undermining Ukraine's export capacity, according to the Financial Times. International traders are already discussing the possibility of partially rerouting Ukrainian grain through Danube ports for subsequent shipment via Constanta, Romania. This scheme was already used in the first month of the conflict. Storage capacity in Odessa has been reduced by approximately a third. Some ship owners are refusing to call at Ukrainian ports, and some grain traders have temporarily suspended purchases in the region due to increased risks. Another important thing, the Ukrainian armed forces have reported a sharp increase in missile strikes against targets in Odessa region. But as of the previous 12 hours, the Russians were attacking not just infrastructure through the Odessa region. For the first time probably since the beginning of the fuel war, the Russians also attacked the port infrastructure and export capacity of the city of Mykolaivka. In this video we can see the beginning of this process, and we can see vessels and tankers that were attacked by Russians through the Mykolaivka port infrastructure. And these attacks since the beginning of this month are telling us just about one thing: the Russians will not allow the Ukrainians to use the Black Sea in their purposes. If most likely the Ukrainians will save some possibilities, but through Romania, through the river of Danube, and that's it. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground. But before we start, another important thing that was published today on the matter of the situation with Syrskyi. Today we have a very interesting article published by different sources that the military has been banned from communicating on social networks. For any post, it is now necessary to obtain approval for the general staff and the main command. So that was stated by Marina Bezugla. So some pro-Ukrainian sources are saying that Syrskyi is trying to do everything he can with the purpose to save his position. And once again, summarizing everything, attacks deep inside the territory of Russia preserves just this target: to save the reputation of Syrskyi and to shift focus and attention from his person to the conflict with the Russian Federation once again. Now let's move further and let's talk about the situation on the ground. And first let's talk about the Zaporizhzhia direction. During the previous 12 hours, additional changes were recorded through the eastern Zaporizhzhia flank, not just even through the previous 12, but probably through the previous 24-36 hours. And these are the changes on the ground. The Russians continue their offensive operation towards the village of Dalinovka. The village has been already encircled, semi-encircled by Russians. So from the north, from the south, now the Russians are pushing also from the east. Furthermore, the Russians improved their positions through the village of Lubitska. Small changes: the Russians improved positions through the eastern parts of the settlement and continue advancing further in the western direction. Now let's move further. Let's talk about the Dnipropetrovsk direction. If you remember, yesterday we had changes through the east territory between Gavrilovka and Ivanovka in Ukrainian favor. Today we received changes in the Russian favor to the southeast and east of the settlement of Mizhova. The Russians improved their positions between the villages of Muravka, Bilakovka, Novomykolaivka, and the Russians continue advancing further in the western direction with the purpose to attack the settlement of Novopavlovka from behind and to finish the battle for this village, a very important village. Furthermore, the Russians continue offensive operation in the area of the settlement of Dobropolye, and these are the changes on the ground between the dates. As you can see, according to these changes, the Russians control right now up to 40-50% of the settlement of Shevchenka. The Russians continue advancing through fields in the direction of Vodyanskaya Svetla, and the Russians improve their positions through the settlement of Belitska itself by taking the control up to additional 5%, from 5 to 10% of the settlement itself. As for the Slaviansk-Druzhkivka agglomeration, during the previous 12 hours, we haven't received anything special. The Russians continued bombing and attacking positions of the armed forces of Ukraine on the outskirts of the settlement of Mykolaivka, trying to get the siege as close as possible and to begin the battle for the Mykolaivka stronghold. As for the northern directions, the Russians destroyed another gas station through the city of Shevchenka, and this video was published by pro-Russian sources where we can see an FPV drone attack on a gas station, and the gas station was damaged badly. So this is the gas station that was attacked by Russians during the previous days, not during the previous night. Furthermore, the Russians attacked another gas station in the area of the city of Zaporizhzhia to the east of the city, in the area of the settlement of Doroha. In this video, we can see another fuel station destroyed, struck overnight by Russia and damaged badly. So the situation is quite critical. The Ukrainians, Zelensky, Syrskyi, were forced to attack deep inside of the territory of Russia, and most likely the Russians will retaliate, not just because the Ukrainians attack logistic hubs, very powerful and strong ones. The Ukrainians, as a result of this attack, casualties among civilians were recorded, and the Russians always retaliate when there are casualties among civilians. And that's it for the short video. The Military Summary channel reminds us to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for your watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.